Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. First of all, before we get started, I need you to know who's in here. Let me see you come forth. Where are you from? How'd you find me? How's your day? Give me something, anything. I'm so glad to have you guys here. I'm glad to have you guys here. Main reason because not only do I want to give this information to you, but I know some of the stuff she's covering, I need a refresher on. So that's why I love just communicating and getting the time to chat with people within my circle. And here's the thing, this woman is super busy all the time. So the fact that she took out some time to come here and share this information, I am grateful. So we're going to wait for a few more people to drop in and we're going to get this party started. Let's see what we have going on here. Perfect. Takes a second for everything to load up. And feel free beforehand to drop any questions that you have in the comments. We're going to let her do her talk. And feel free beforehand to drop any questions that you have in the comments. I have to mute this one. We're going to let her do her talk. Sorry, guys. Whoops. All right. Perfect. I wanted to see the poll right here that we have going. I asked, do you have a system to keep track of your business expenses? 73% of you guys said no. 73%, 11 votes, and 73%. Pretty much no one here has a way to keep track of their business expenses. And I'm going to need that to change. Dyesha's in the back of the studio. Did you hear that, Dyesha? 73% of the people in here don't have a way. So I know you had an idea of what you're going to talk about, but I feel you need to add some things into your conversation because it is unacceptable. It is completely unacceptable. We can't have people out here floundering around. So we're not going to give anybody any more time to come in. They're just going to have to catch it later because we're going to get started. So I want to welcome everybody to 3 things you should know about business, taxes, and accounting with Dyesha, the CEO and founder of Seattle Professional Accounting. And I'm just going to bring her up and we're going to get this going. Once again, feel free to leave your questions in the chat bar and I'll come back to those later, but we're going to introduce her. Welcome, Dyesha.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
They're doing amazing. They pulled up real quick. So.
Well, shoot, after that 73%, I hope we got more pulling up because we're gonna get you.
Yeah. Oh, look, we have somebody else come in, so we're not 73% anymore. Now we're at 67%. Okay. We got an extra vote in there. Somebody else has their stuff together. So let's get them right. So first of all, we're talking about 3 things that you should know about business, accounting, taxes, all that good stuff. I'm just going to let you take the table and go for it because I know nothing about this. I will steer everyone wrong. So let's open up the platform to the professional. Go ahead.
Yeah, most definitely. So for starters,
oops.
Okay, we still live? Okay, all right. Okay, everyone. So my name is Dyesha. As Jazz said, I am the CEO of Seattle Professional Accounting Services. I actually started the company a couple years ago with the mission to be able to help small business owners of color, be able to get the fundamentals, especially around finance, to really start and grow a successful business. I think a lot of people have great business ideas, but the reality of it is finance is, the infrastructure of your business. And if you don't understand what's going on financially, you're going to be fairly lost fairly fast. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to jump in and give you guys some tidbits. And it sounds like I'm going to have to kind of steer my conversation in a little bit of another direction because, we've got 67% of you guys who don't yet have a system for tracking what you guys have going on with your business. So I think for starters, we can actually jump in there, which is, I feel like everybody should have a QuickBooks account. It is only about $20 a month. And it is very easy to learn how to utilize. They have tons of videos to be able to help you. And if those don't suffice, you can always tap into me for assistance. But QuickBooks is a fairly easy tool to use, as I was saying before, and it allows you to create a system for tracking a lot of your income and your expenses as it relates to your business. I think a lot of people, the main question is like, what's a write-off? What's a deduction? Well, that is an expense. And so, when you're tracking things via QuickBooks, that's how you can, get a pulse on your business. How much money am I making per month? How, where are my expenses? How much, what's my biggest expense for my business? How much money do I have going out every single month? And then kind of from there, you can use that information to grow your business. Do you need to decrease your expenses? Do you need to increase your income? Are you treading well on your income, but maybe you just need better expense management? So I think that those are some of the things that you can tackle when you start to have a QuickBooks. And quite frankly, I mean, I feel like it's a common theme with small business owners. As you're getting started, you don't like I said, you guys have a great business idea, and not a lot of times does that come with the mental of, well, what is it going to take to get that out there? How much does it cost for me to produce a product? How much could I make off of a product? And how does that ultimately affect the bottom line of my business? We don't have any questions, right? I can keep rolling.
Yeah, keep rolling.
Okay,
and
cool.
Guys, you guys are welcome to ask questions, but what ends up happening, people get very attentive in these, and I'm like, am I just not doing the right thing? But no, people are really interested in hearing this information. So you go ahead and keep going, and trust me, they will interrupt you when they're ready.
Okay, of course, I'll keep rolling. So I think the first point that I wanted to touch on was business finance management and its importance. So as I was saying earlier, finance is the infrastructure of your business. If you think about a city, you think about all the roads that you have to get to different places. That's basically what finance is. It connects all of the different avenues, roads in your business. If you do not understand where your money's coming in at and where it's going, it's going to be very hard to scale your business to the point where Jazz is at. Everybody's trying to get to, a nice 6-figure company, but a lot of us don't realize what it takes. If, for example, if you're only making $5 in profit off of a product, how many products do you have to sell to make $1 million? Like, that's a lot of volume. So yeah, go ahead.
I just want to throw in, with that being said, you're running a business. It's not a hobby. You're here to make a profit, people. Stop trying to be extra nice. And no, you're here to run a business, and you can't scale your business if you're giving away your product. And I go back to the back now.
If you're giving away your product, and furthermore, you don't even know how much product you can give away if you don't know the finances of your business. If you can't say, okay, I have X number of dollars coming in every single month from this specific product line, or from this collection, or from this service industry, how do you know how much you can give away,
or what you need to pull away? Like, what things are really milking the business, stuff you're spending so much money on product, but you're only making so much profit. You can't see any of that if it's not laid out for you within your infrastructure.
Exactly. And again, knowing where your money is going, it's really hard to make financial decisions if you don't know where your money is going. So like me, right? I also own Undefined Clothing, right? That's some of the clothing that I have on right now. And so when I was first starting and scaling my business, some of the number one things that I was worried about is, how much is it going to cost me to produce a t-shirt, or one bomber jacket, or one sweater? And then how much does it take me to produce a batch of units, right? Okay, now how much can I sell this one unit for? All right, now let's multiply this across 100 units. If I go and I get 100 units made, this is how much it costs. This is how much I can make, which means that my profit is whatever's that in between, right? And the reality is that profit has to be able to cover your overhead, whatever you want to eventually pay yourself, all of the additional variable expenses that you have coming in for your business. So for me, right, I run samples for my products. Every single sample that I run personally gets evaluated into the cost of my products, because that was the cost that I had to take on. Who's paying for that? It's not coming out of nowhere. Somebody has to pay for that, right? So again, all, expenses, right? I can't, if I want to go and run 10 different, one of every size of different colors and get all these samples done, and each sample is going to cost me $20 per unit to run. Well, I'm up to $1,000 really quick. How many do I have to turn around and sell to make that $1,000 back, on top of whatever the cost of the actual product was and the shipping to get it to my house? So it's like, these are all the numbers games that go into making financial decisions about your business, and that will ultimately influence how you grow and whether or not you're able to be successful.
Yeah, a really good point you made there. We have a lot of candle makers that are in the building, and candle makers do a lot of testing before they even have anything coming out. In the beginning, I did not include the testing within my in my numbers. And so if I was to start over again, after talking to you multiple times, that's something I definitely would do, is actually add that cost into the price of my candles. A lot of times we do like a cost plus, where it's the cost of your product times 5. But really keeping the account, what did you actually spend on testing? And that's another thing. Everyone's out here testing their candles. We said 67% of people don't have a way to track their business expenses. How do you know what you're spending on testing?
And here's, and let's pause there. So the first step for everybody who does not have anything set up, your number one step is that you need to go and get a business bank account. That is your very, very, very first step. And if you don't have a business account, set up some sort of a personal account. Like if you have multiple checking accounts, you can use a personal account that is solely and exclusively used for your business expenses. That's how I started, right? I started with Undefined Clothing as a sole proprietorship. And because it was a sole proprietorship, I could, you kind of have a little bit more leniency to be able to commingle a lot of your expenses and whatnot. But for me, I wanted to start out really clean. You don't treat your business the way you would not treat the business that you work if you were working for somebody else, right? If a CEO of a company hands you a credit card, right, you're not going to go and run the credit card for your meals and your gas and your gas station rent. You're not going to do that. You treat your business with the exact same respect. You don't use your business expenses and your business finances and income for personal expenditures,
I've
right?
never heard
So
that before. That makes a lot of sense, because when we get cards from our companies, we treat it like it's gold, and we
yeah,
do.
you don't want any questions, you don't want any
No.
problems. Like, let me call and verify before I
You
even
go back, you
run
take
this card.
the receipts, you're making sure I have everything. But people don't do that with their own businesses. So that's a really good way to have people reassess how they think about expenses in their business.
Yeah, I mean, it's like at the end of the day, right? You want to get out from working from somebody else. You don't want to be growing somebody else's business and somebody else's dream. You want to grow your own, right? So why is it that you're growing somebody else's dream with way more motivation, way more efficiency than you are your own? That doesn't make any sense, right? So it's like taking a step back. And I want to address this question really quick. Finance is intimidating in terms of getting things lined up for our business. Where do you start? I think where you start is where you're at. So and what I mean by that is where I started, right, was I'm not really worried about the grand scheme of where I want to be in 5 years or 10 years or even 3 years or even a year. I'm worried about right now. What do I need to make to be okay this month, right? So where I started in terms of finance was analyzing what is the cost per product, right? What is the cost of what it is that I'm producing to sell or to put out? And if that's a service, then what is the cost of all the infrastructure that you need? What are your digital, the digital services that you need? Any type of websites, any additional plugin services? What is all that on a monthly basis or on a product basis, depending on if your service or if your product base, right? If you're looking at candles or oils, how much does it cost to make one candle? That's all your one candle. That's all we want to know. How much does it cost to make one candle? So if you're buying in bulk with gallons, how many candles can you make using that gallon? That's going to be your next step, right? So once you know how much it costs and how much it takes of your materials to make one candle, now your next question is how many candles can I make with X amount of product, this one order. And so now every single time I order this amount of wax, every time I order this amount of fragrance, I should be able to make about this number of candles. So that's kind of a starting point. Then you have, well, what is the financial dollar that's going into that, right? So if you're looking at a tub of wax costs, I don't know, 45, $100, however much it costs. You divide that by how many candles you can make using that one tub. And now you come down to, that cost for that one candle, right? And you do that across all of your inputs, every single thing that goes into making a candle, right? And so now, across all my inputs, it may take me about $4 or $5 to make each candle. Now, this is me just shooting numbers off the top of my head, so please do not kill me if these are not your numbers, because I am not in the business of making candles, so I do not know, okay? So we'll say $5 for making a candle, right? Now you still have your overhead. I have to run my website. If I have plugins for that website, we also have that. If we're doing any giveaways, sometimes we have that. And so your next step is, well, how much do I want to make from each candle? Are you comfortable making $30 from each candle? Do you want to make $20 from each candle? And then that becomes your markup. So if it costs me $5 to make the candle and I want to make $30 off of each candle, I'm going to sell it for $35. And then now you have a base point to be able to, analyze your business. So now you're starting with this $35 price point. All right, well, on 1 month, let's analyze how much money we made. How much money did I have coming in? Where did I actually spend my money? What were my expenses? And then look at it the next month. And then the next month. So now you have 3 months. Now you can actually look at it on a quarterly scale instead of looking at it so minute by month, right? And so you're just growing out of the analytical procedures that you're in right now. So I would start literally with the one product, one unit, and 1 month. How much do I want to make this month? How many candles would I have to sell? How many candles do I have to produce? And start there. Or units, or how many services do I have to sell?
That's a good way to think about it. Instead of trying to take in everything at once, just start from where you're at. And honestly, just asking that question and is getting yourself into the right mind frame. And I understand it can be frustrating, but don't let that overwhelm you, because nothing's going to be more overwhelming when it comes time to actually figure out, well, you can't figure out where your money's going, where you're going to get that loan, and you have your receipts, boxes of receipts everywhere, and now you're paying extra to get your taxes done because you didn't keep track in the first place. So don't let it overwhelm you. Definitely stick through it, because it's going to be definitely worth it in the end.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, you make everything for yourself 10 times easier, whether you're going through a tax accountant, a tax professional, or a CPA, or even if you're managing things yourself. It is 1,000 times easier if you just deal with setting up the right procedures and processes now. Because I don't know how many clients I've dealt with that it's like, hey, I've got 2 years worth of expenses and I've just been running stuff and I don't know what's going on. Can you help me? And, the reality of it is my rates are going to be probably half to a third price of where you're going to shop everywhere else. I mean, I've gone out and quoted rates. People are charging $2,200 to $3,000 just to do a year's worth of your expenses. No matter how many no matter how many transactions you're doing each month, it's just going to be a flat rate, $2,000 to $3,000. Even if you're processing 5 transactions a month, that's how much they're going to charge you to clean up your books. So it's like, if you can figure out a way to just do that now, setting up things like a rent account in QuickBooks, right? Most accounts, when you go into QuickBooks, so let's jump back into QuickBooks. When you start with QuickBooks, most of your accounts are going to be set up. It'll ask you usually what type of a business you're starting to create, or you're running, whether that's like a product base, if you're doing apparel, if you're doing, a service, and then they'll give you a chart of accounts based on what that business description is. And a chart of accounts is literally just the accounts that you're going to use to categorize your expenses and your income as you grow and as you go through business. So what that might look like is an account for rent, right? You want to track all your rent expenses. You may have an account for office expenses. So when you're buying your pens and your pencils and your paper and your printers and all that stuff, right? You may have one that is you may have a separate office expense or an office account that may be like hardware, right? If you're somebody who has to buy shelving, or if you have to do like mini projects within your house in terms of establishing a home office, right? Those are all things that can be expensed. Setting up things like meals as you're having business meals and entertaining business clients or dealing with business customers. Those are things that can be expensed. And so setting up an account structure that allows you to be able to expense and categorize your expenses a lot quicker. And with QuickBooks, the reason why I always push people and new business owners, especially to QuickBooks, is because it's very easy to use. It is fairly seamless. Once you have your account set up, it's literally just clicking a button to say, yep, send it to this account or send it to this account. And if you don't have the time to do that, then, pretty much all accountants that I've met are well-versed in QuickBooks. That's pretty much a starting block of, accounting softwares. So, if you were growing to the point where you couldn't manage it yourself, or you just didn't want to manage it yourself, you could always, give an accountant back end access to your QuickBooks so that they don't have 100% control over your books and they're not sending your money places, but they just have the responsibility of categorization for you. And then I think the next big point that I want to touch on is I think a lot of small business owners fall into the trap of, I'm just going to hire somebody because I don't want to deal with my finances. I don't like numbers. I'm not a numbers person. I'm just going to hire somebody to do it. And that's fine if you want to hire somebody. But if you don't even understand what's on a financial report, they could be sending your money to Timbuktu and you would not know. They could literally have an entire account that's an additional expense account for their own compensation and you don't know. They could be responsible
That's
for,
smart.
they could be responsible. I'm telling you, like, and if you don't know what your expenses are and you can't, call out or highlight an account that seems to be a red flag that maybe shouldn't be on your list of accounts, right? They could be running anything through your account. You just don't know, right? And so what I always tell business owners is, even if you don't understand how to do the fundamentals of, booking your accounts, of doing manual entries, of cleaning up all of your accounts, at least understand how to read a profit and loss report. At least understand how to read a balance sheet. Those are going to be the two most vital reports that you're going to be dealing with as a business owner: your profit and loss, or P&L, and your balance sheet. Your P&L is going to show you all of your income and all of your expenses for your business. And your balance sheet is going to show you things like your liabilities that you have. So if you owe any debts, if you have any loans, if you have a credit card, anything like that, any lines of credit that you have for your business. It's going to show you assets. So if you did things like purchased a car through your business, which that's a whole nother topic. Okay, we'll talk about that another time, because but if you purchase a car through your business, or if you're doing things like running personal expenses through your business, which you should not be, things like that will hit your balance sheet, because personal expenses are not actually deductible. Those are just run through your account, your business account, and you're just losing money essentially.
Yes.
Um,
That was a good number one. When I went live, I was like, you know what? We said 3 things, but when you're passionate about what you do, you tend to go on. So if you want all the information, you guys better just come here, because I'm pretty sure she's going to go way more in depth than she originally planned.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. I've already started going more in depth than I had in the notes, but you know what? It's all good.
I love it.
All good.
So let's get to number 2. Tell me about number 2.
Man, okay, so number 2 is about expenses. I feel like I alluded to earlier, the number one question that I get from a lot of small business owners is, what's a deduction, right? How do I know what my business deductions are? It's the same question that I had, when I was going into business. I didn't have, the business owners that I could ping, that I could ask these questions of. So I had to figure this out on my own. And essentially, a business deduction is an expense. That's literally all it is. It's the expenses that you're allowed to deduct from the income line on your P&L. And that gives you a bottom line net income number that you end up paying taxes on. And so kind of what I wanted to cover in relation to expenses is the top 3 expenses that new business owners miss. And I think the first really big one is going to be mileage. And I think that's probably because it's a pain to track, even for me. I feel like it takes a lot of business owners maybe like 4 or 5 years to get into the habit of actually truly tracking their business mileage. And a key part of that is because a lot of the mileage apps that you'll use, which you can use this on QuickBooks, they have a mileage feature that will just track all your mileage for you. So you don't even have to use a separate app for this. Little tidbit tie in right there.
You would think or something. They need to.
No, for real. But the thing about tracking your mileage is it's going to track everything. So every time you start your car, it's going to track where you went, how many miles, how long you traveled, etc. And so the thing about that is, for some people who are finicky or iffy about feeling like they're watched or feeling like they're being tracked, that might be a little bit hard for you. And then also the second part of that is, because it is tracking everything, you have to tell it what is business and what is personal, right? So when you're actually on a personal trip, you need to swipe it to personal. And when you're on a business trip, you need to swipe it to business, and then it'll be able to track that information that way. The second expense that I want to talk about is your home office. I would say probably 99.999% of starting off small business owners are working out of their office. They're working out of home, right? And so when you're doing that, you get to deduct a portion of your lights, a portion of your water, a portion of your your Wi-Fi or your internet services, right? All of that is deductible according to how much of your home you're using, right? And that is not just that's not just exclusive to the desk space that you use. If you have an inventory room in your house, you get to deduct that, right? If you have a studio space in your house, you get to deduct that. Now, the key part of these deductions is they need to be used solely and exclusively for the means of your business. That means you can't use a desk. that you're using for, the job that you work 40 hours a week for, and that you use whenever, somebody else comes in and you're throwing everything on and it can't be used for that. It has to be used solely and exclusively for business. So inventory room, that's going to count. The desk, right? If you're using a desk space that you use solely for the business that you're running, the space that you're using for that desk, that's going to be deductible. And then what you can do is all of that space, you kind of add that up. So for example, let's say you use about 300 total square feet in your house, and your whole house is 1,200 square feet, right? So you would be using a quarter of your house for your business. That means a quarter of all of your other house expenses can also be deducted for your business. That includes the rent, that includes your electricity, that includes your Wi-Fi and your internet and all of that. So make sure that you are first tracking that, right? That means set up an Excel spreadsheet that literally notates, this is my desk. This is how much square footage I use for my desk. This is my inventory space. This is how much square footage I use for my inventory space. This is my entire home. This is the entire square footage of my home. And this is of my entire home square footage, how much I'm using for my business. As long as you have something recorded like that, you pretty much won't ever be hassled by the IRS. You'll always have that statement form that says, this is how I am deducting my home expenses, and this is the expense deduction or calculation that I use every single year. And as long as you have that, you're pretty much good to go. And then I think the last one that I wanted to touch on is your phone. Most people are not going out and buying a brand new $2,000 phone or $1,500, how much the iPhones are. People are not going out and buying new phones and starting up new lines for that. So what you do, according to the IRS, is you essentially prorate what you're using for your phone. So if your phone bill is $200 a month, you can say to the IRS, well, I use my phone for my personal phone line for business-related purposes about 30% of the time. Record that, log that on a spreadsheet. The same spreadsheet you use for your home office, you can just say, literally just type that out. I use my personal phone about 30% of the time for my business. Now you get to deduct 30% of your phone bill for your business, as long as that is the true percentage or about the true percentage, right? It's going to be hard to say of the minutes that I call out, because who tracks minutes? I'm pretty sure everybody's on like an unlimited plan now, right? Of the minutes I use, what is related to business? That's going to be pretty hard to tie out. So, just track it that way. And that's going to be good. Your mortgage is going to be also deductible. That is still based on the same pro rata percentage as your rent. So right now I have a mortgage. I just bought a home. And so the mortgage that I pay, I take the percentage of my square footage of the home, and then I'll deduct that percentage of the mortgage as a rental expense for my business. And that would be allocated to a rent expense on my business books.
That's good. See, gems, because we hear people say all the time, oh, you can deduct your home office space, but nobody really moves forward and tells us exactly how to do it. And I've heard so many like iffy ways to go about it. So as I mentioned before, everybody's a flipping professional. So I go out and I search out for the real professionals, and I usually decipher the real professionals as, I've talked to you plenty of times. You're like, no, Jasmine, you don't do that. No, Jasmine, you can't do that. I'm like, okay. I say are the professionals are the ones who are kind of like, yes, man, oh, yeah, you could do that. Yeah, you could do that. No, the real professionals are not afraid. And they actually, I feel, look for ways to kind of strike you down to make sure they point you in the right direction. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to give you guys as much information as possible. But yeah, to that point, I think knowing exactly how to calculate the home office expenses is huge, because like you said, everybody says deduct your home office, but how do I do that? If I'm a new business owner, how do I do that? What is a home, like what am I adding? What am I calculating? What am I subtracting? What is it that I'm doing? So yes, it's literally coming down to taking what is the actual business space that you're using as compared to the space in your home, and multiplying that percentage across all of the expenses that are included in your home.
Awesome. So it looks like we have number 3.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3 is like I'm a plug in my iPad.
Okay. See, we didn't plan to be on here this long, but like I told you guys, when you're passionate about what you do, like you just keep going. You literally can't.
Man. Okay. So number 3 is actually the one that I feel like a lot of business owners hate. But it is so vital. And I think when I first started my business, I was like, "Hey, yo, we're in the black year one. Like, I went to go file my taxes, and I said, sir, there's no way I owe this much, and I didn't even make this much. How do I owe this much?" So taxes, all right, taxes. So first off, I think everybody is most familiar with annual tax filings, right? That's the tax filing that you go in every single year. You file it February, March, April if you're running up the line, you know, a little bit. And yeah, me, June if you're me. I was late, but don't be me. Do not be me. File on time so you can avoid late fees.
Oh, I requested my extension.
Oh, I did too, but girl, you still got late fees.
I know. That's too much to do.
See, because the thing about an extension, let me throw this out here. The thing about it is an extension is that it's an extension to file, not an extension to pay. So when you extend, you still need to make some sort of a payment, which you can actually go directly through the IRS website to do that. And it'll track against your taxes so that when you actually go and file, it'll say, hey, you already made a credit payment of this amount, so you'll only owe this amount, or maybe we may owe you some money back. But when you file an extension, that's an extension to file, not to pay. Okay, so write that down. All right, you guys don't, write that down. If you don't remember anything, when you file that 70004, it is an extension to file. Okay. But yes, taxes. So like I was saying, most people are most familiar with the annual tax filings. It's what you file every single month or every single year. And I feel like the most important piece that I can give you guys on this is be ready for self-employment taxes. When you go and you file your taxes with a regular W-2, your employer is responsible for paying a percentage of your social, Medicare, Social Security tax, and I think a unemployment tax, which all adds up to about 15.3%. So 7.65% ends up being paid by your employer, and 7.5% or 65% ends up being paid by you. Well, here's the catch. When you're self-employed, you're the employee and the employer. So you are paying the whole 15.3%. And I feel like that was the number one thing that definitely took me aback when I went to go file my taxes, because, as long as you have a positive income at the end of the year, you're going to be on that 15.3% tax. So, you do get a credit on the back end for your employee portion, either the employee or the employer portion. So essentially half of the taxes. But you'll still be responsible for that 7.65%. That is it's not regularly deducted from your checks, right? You're not getting a cut from a W-2 employee who's already allocating your taxes for you. You're responsible for that. You have to pay that. And then I think the second bit, which a lot of business owners do not realize, is especially whether you're selling a product or whether you have a service, you have to file taxes with your state. Now, when you're starting out, that's usually going to be quarterly, but once you hit a certain income threshold, that's going to change to monthly. You need to file taxes with your state every month. I do not like it, but it is monthly.
I don't like it, but I'm glad, because if it hit me with that quarterly, I might be crying a quarter every 3 months.
You know what? I wouldn't even mind the quarterly, because the thing about, so I use Shopify, right? I use Shopify for my the infrastructure for my products. Now, Shopify has a nice little tax report. You pull that tax report, and you don't really have to back into, too much stuff. Now, it's a lot more transactions that you got to deal with, right? It's a way bigger batch of transactions. But me personally, I would rather analyze it on a 3-month basis, because I just don't want to sit down and do that every single month.
I don't like the big chunk coming out. I know coming out than the big chunk.
Yeah, okay, I feel that. Yeah, and so really that's it, right? Is your quarterly taxes. And the thing about quarterly taxes or your monthly taxes, essentially your state tax filings that you will complete with your Department of Revenue for your respective state, is they do not care if you make money or not, right? They don't care if you are in the black or in the red at the end of the year. If you sold a product, if you sold a service, if you made money from a product or a service, you owe them tax. When you are doing a service, I think it's like a 1.4%. If you're in Washington State, I cannot speak to other states, but I want to say it's about like a 1.4% or something like that tax on everything that you make, in terms of your gross income, not your net, but your gross. So what you make before you take out any of your expenses. And yeah, so again, they don't care. So what my number one thing that I always tell people is allocate a portion for taxes. Every single time you get a check or every single time you get a deposit, allocate a portion of that income for your taxes so that you're not scrambling when it's time to have to pay the Department of Revenue or to pay the IRS, right? If you're selling a product, it's tracking all of your taxes. You're technically getting that tax income with whatever they're paying, and technically what the IRS or your state is saying is, we're remitting these taxes to you temporarily. You're holding these taxes, and then you need to send them to us on that quarterly or monthly basis. So just making sure that all of that is properly tracked. And again, that all goes back to QuickBooks, right? Having the proper infrastructure to track your income and your expenses is so important. It's not even funny. Like, you will not be able to have a successful business or run that business past about 3 to 4 years if you do not have the infrastructure to do so.
Because I know they pay attention to new businesses, but they really start paying attention around that 3-4 year mark and like, hey, what's really going on here?
Well, see, now they're starting to pay attention even earlier. So there was actually this thing that came out with the IRS where they were essentially like, it's a new, I don't want to call it a bill, but it's like a new initiative essentially, where they know they're going for the low hanging fruit, which is small business owners. They know that we do not have the lawyers and all the tax professionals and all the the boards and lines of people to come back to fight whatever these bills may be that are coming back from the IRS. And so they're ready to hit you guys with all types of penalties and everything that they possibly can. And one of the things that they are really, really, really starting to pay attention to is your tracking of your expenses. Do you have the adequate support for these expenses? Do you have receipts? Do you have invoices? Are you properly tracking everything? Are you tracking your phone and your home office expenses according to one methodology, or are you switching every single year? Right? Things like that are becoming really, really, really important. And like I said, the IRS is just going for low hanging fruit. They want the people that are going to pay more, right? And right now is the age of the small business owner. So, it's disheartening, but I think as long as you have clean processes and procedures, you're good to go. Like, you really do not have to worry anything about the IRS coming after you, as long as you have all of the support docs. I even don't file my own taxes because for me, I'm in school, so that's an additional deduction. If you have kids, that's an additional deduction that kind of changes every single year. COVID, that's an additional deduction that changes each year. If you own a home, that's now a deduction that gets amplified and added in. So there's all these different factors that go into filing your annual taxes that are not just based on your business. Your business is just one aspect of it. But as long as you have a clean P&L, that's literally all they need to file your business taxes. All you need is a clean P&L. As long as you have a clean P&L, you have the support for any questions that might come up, you're pretty good to go. And don't be discouraged by the monthly taxes. Once you get a process and a procedure, you can get it done in 20 minutes. Like, it really does not take a lot of time. It's just about, setting up the process. And if you're using a system like Shopify or even Square, I don't know about Square. Let me not misspeak, because I do not know Square. I actually migrated from Square because they had problems with tracking taxes when I was on there. But I know for a fact, if you use Shopify and a lot of other similar platforms, they should have just reports that you can pull that'll make your life 10 times easier. Pull a sales report, pull a tax report that shows how much money you made, what orders they were tied to, and how much you paid in taxes. And that's pretty much all you'll need to be able to file your taxes on, that monthly or that quarterly basis. And monthly, you only get to monthly, I think, once you're paying over like $4,800 in taxes a year to your state agency. So if you're under that, you should be filing quarterly. If you're above that, then you'll be filing monthly.
Nice. So you hit us with a whole lot of information. A lot of information. We were supposed to stick to 3, but I think everyone, yes, this YouTube will not only be saved, but I'll leave it up on, or the slide will be saved and I'll leave it up on YouTube as well. It'll also be in the Academy, Leslie. But with that, it's actually a perfect segue. We have 2 things. For one, Dyesha actually has 3 ebooks available on her page. And so if you are listening to this information and you want more information, you want to dive deeper in, can you tell them a little bit about your ebooks?
Yeah, for sure. So you can actually go to seattleaccounting.com and you can find all of our ebooks. The first one I have is a Business Taxes 101, which is essentially going to give you just an intro to like a deep dive into taxes, looking at S corps if you're in that phase, actually going through the mechanics of how to file your quarterly taxes and your yearly taxes. And then expounding more upon just what the taxes are, how to pay, etc. And then we've also got a kind of just a business starter ebook. So it gives you the mechanics of just starting. So what are the different entity structures? Which one should you structure as? Getting started with a bank account, kind of just all the intro steps that you need to just actually get the infrastructure started for a solidified business before you're actually putting in the work. And then the third is those who are specific to starting up a brand, like myself, or a t-shirt company, or any type of kind of clothing apparel line. I have an ebook that is specific to that. And so as Jeff there, it's you can go to that website, or you can also go to the Seattle Accounting. And then we'll also be launching our Seattle Accounting Academy October 1st. And so that'll actually be a subscription service where you can subscribe monthly. We'll be doing classes on a weekly basis to kind of just help answer more direct questions around people's business, do deep dives, kind of have some info sessions where you guys can actually just freely ask questions, because I want to kind of make the access a bit more exclusive, kind of similar to Jazz. I have a lot of people, a lot of the time, just sending me DMs, asking me tons of questions. And it's just a lot easier if I can answer those on, a larger platform and give a lot more people the access to the same information. So, we're not repeating or accessing the same questions. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And part of that is because I needed it. I'm not gonna lie, I've been harassing her for months because as much as I care and I don't care, I'll be calling like, so Dyesha, I got another question. So hey, can we just like get on Zoom real quick and ask a few questions? And then after I started my academy, I was like, Dyesha, you really need to get on this one. If anybody's familiar with the Black Sunflower Academy, love the platform. And I was like, this is what you need to do, because I know so many people, even within my own academy, that need this. I need this. And so within we're 35-ish minutes, the amount of information that you got from her in this 35 minutes, just imagine what you can get if you have full access to her all the time. So what is it? Is it Seattle Accounting Academy?
Yep, Seattle Accounting
I
Academy.
love that. I'm typing in Seattle Accounting. Oops. And we had
another question. Yeah, I was gonna answer that real quick before get there. So yeah, if you are not yet selling products, what you are doing is you have startup costs, right? You're paying, right? You had to pay for the LLC. You have to pay if you have lawyer fees, if you have legal fees, you have to pay for that. Any sampling or testing that you're doing, you have to pay for all of that. Those are all costs that you still should be allocating to your expenses. Those are all, even though you're not up and running, you haven't sold products yet, you're still incurring expenses on all of on that business. And so those are things that you should be tracking.
so he's also asking about how does it affect the taxes?
So it's not, you would file essentially a loss. So you wouldn't owe taxes. You're not going to owe taxes on this business because you're going to be filing at a loss instead of having profit in that business. So when you go file your taxes at, in February, you'll just essentially report, hey, I spent money on these expenses, but I haven't had any income. Now, most tax professionals are going to be pretty good about rolling your first year's startup costs into your second year of business, because that's where you're kind of net out your proceeds, right? So most people, your first year in business, you're not really going to be making any money. By the second year, you usually start making some money and having some money coming in, and so you can kind of offset that net loss with any net income that you have in that second year. And that's usually how it ends up working out, is they'll combine your original startup costs with kind of that second year that you're officially started and have real cash flow in your company.
That's awesome. This actually made a really good point. What I've realized a lot of people don't even know about is the reseller's permit. Can you give some information on that? Because this is
if you have
given back to the government.
Man, yeah. If you have any type of a product-based business and you have to buy inputs, whether that's I'm buying t-shirts, I'm buying wax, I'm buying fragrances, I'm buying oils, I'm buying, shells before they get the embroidery on them, and even the embroidery process or the printing process. All of that you do not have to pay taxes on. The reason why is because you are not the end user, you're not the end customer, right? So you're essentially taking this product from one entity, you're doing something with it, and then you're selling it to somebody else, right? So you're not the end user. You should not be paying the taxes. The end user is the one who is responsible for paying the taxes. So when you are getting your business license, pretty much the second step right after you get that business license, if you have a product-based business, is to apply for the reseller's permit. It's pretty much instantaneous. I don't think you have to wait more than 24 to 48 hours to get the piece of paper sent to you via email. And then that's all you need. And from there, you will no longer be paying taxes on the input. So again, if you have a product-based business, make sure you are applying for a reseller's permit as soon as you have your business license, so that you cannot be paying taxes on, those inputs that you're purchasing.
So important. But another question that came up. Hope to start next year, but buying things this year for testing. How does that work? So wait, and let me make sure. I think this was a play off of the previous question about taxes. So I think we might have already answered this question. Angel, did we answer this question for you when Dyesha was speaking of you technically, since you're not making any money, you won't owe taxes, but they'll roll over those costs into next year. I just want to make sure that we answer that question. I'm going to go ahead and hide this one for now. She'll respond to us in a second. Anything else that you wanted to share, Dyesha? I know you kind of introduced yourself in the beginning, but can you reintroduce yourself and just the whole slew of things that you offer, and then what you have actually going on within your accounting academy, which I will be actually, after we get off of this, I'm going to sign up because I can't stress you about it for all this time and not go and sign up. So can you tell us a little bit more about you and everything else that you have?
Yes, absolutely. So again, my name is Dyesha, the CEO of Seattle Professional Accounting Services, as well as Undefined Clothing. Seattle Professional Accounting Services, was started primarily to assist small business owners and business owners of color starting up small businesses. And so really the push behind that is helping you guys understand the fundamentals of the finance, creating an infrastructure, the accounting that goes into establishing a successful company and then growing it. And so we'll have, like I was saying earlier, October 1st, I'll be launching the Seattle Accounting Academy, which is from, Seattle Professional Accounting Services. And, we'll be touching on everything, not just business finance and business taxes, but also looking at personal, right? Talking about real estate, talking about ownership, talking about crypto, talking about literally everything from personal all the way down to business. We'll be incorporating a lot of different, instructors and experts to those classes to, help just bring out some additional teachings. So hope to see some of you guys there and hope to be able to help you guys. I'm trying to see everybody win. So.
Yes. And so actually with that, anybody here that is a part of Black Sunflower Academy, Dyesha's actually teaching a class on Monday, and I haven't announced it yet. I don't even think she knows, but normally the classes are $10. I'm about to go take it out and I'm about to make her class free. Main reason is because people need this information. Yes, all the other stuff in business is important and learning to market and how to brand and how to price your products. But if you don't have the foundation of your finances set up, I'm literally setting up people for failure. So I feel that, okay, yeah, I bring you into my academy and that's great. Let's learn about everything. But no, I need to make sure that you guys have the finance portion in check. So later tonight, I'm going to go in, I'm going to remove the paid portion from within the academy, and you'll be able to just register for the class. So if you thought today was a lot of information, you get a lot of rest. Make sure you drink your water because it's going to be a class, you guys. And I'm here for it.
This was the tip of the iceberg. This was like the 20% you see on top of the water. We haven't even we haven't even gone in yet. So it definitely went over time. So it'll be interesting to see how long the session.
That's okay. That's why I tell people, get ready. We scheduled the class for an hour, but if it goes over, so be it. We're here. You get the information. So anybody that's here, if you're not a part of Black Sunflower Academy, I am offering a 3-day trial. You just click on blacksunfloweracademy.com. No, I'm lying. Don't go there. It won't have the 3-day trial there. We lied to you. If you just go to my DMs on Black Sunflower Academy on Instagram and type trial, you'll get access to the 3-day trial right from there. So once again, you just tap trial within my DMs and you'll get the 3-day trial. And then you can sign up for the full class on Monday. Look at that. Ew. Becky said, I am so joining the Accounting Academy. I need it. So October 1st. Dyesha, I think we should come back on and do something like this again. Like,
yeah, I think you're right. We might have to do like a, hey, we just launched, go sign up while we're here, because
yes, we can have a launch party. Like,
yeah. And then also maybe just get some information about like, what classes do you guys want to see? What information do you guys need so that we can, front load some of those classes?
That part right there. I love it. Yes. So you need me, or you're gonna need Dyesha to move to GA. She's gonna need to move to Georgia so that she can work down there. We need a Georgia Accounting Academy. We need I love it. Well, you guys, this was so awesome. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to stay on for a few seconds or so to see if any new questions roll in. If not, make sure you take down Dyesha's information, follow her on Instagram. I'll post all the stuff up. We're actually going to leave this post on YouTube Live as well, so you can come back and get the information, because it was a lot. So I know getting everything all in one take might be a bit much, but don't worry. Going to be here for you. So we'll wait a few seconds, see if there's any more information, and then I'm gonna head out for the night because I have a lot more videos to upload, a lot more to do. I have to go check out the academy. I haven't been in there today. And so yeah, I just want to see what you guys have going on. You are very welcome. Thank you so much. You guys were very attentive today. And once again, we're starting to set records here because Dyesha, here's how it works. We don't get very many questions. Like, I cover everything, but the questions usually don't roll in. And I'm fine with that. But I'm going to start maybe I'm going to start halfway doing the classes so I can get questions. No, I won't do that. You're very welcome, everyone. I really appreciate your time. You can be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us. And for that, we are thankful so much for everything that you have brought to the table here, you guys. So Dyesha, thank you for joining us. I know you're extremely busy, so I am thankful that you took the time to come in and spend it with us as well. And I'll catch everyone on the flip side. Peace.